Okay, Rabotai, we have a happy occasion today. Besides, of course, the Parashat, we also have Siyum Masechet, which we're going to do later. But our two prominent Talmidim here, Idan Yosef Dayan and Eitan Perry Grossman.
Naftali.
Perry Naftali. Okay, Naftali Perry. That's the problem with names. Anyway, Parashat Tisa. Parashat Tisa. Yeah, and by the way, anybody is looking for shidduch, they're available. Nice specimen here. After the chet of the egel, Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching a schut, speaks on behalf of Am Yisrael. And what does he say? What does he do? Which seems very peculiar. He takes the first luchot, the 10 commandments that he has, and he breaks them under the mountain. The words are a little weird. It doesn't mean breaks them under the mountain. How can you break it under the mountain? Tachat ahar. How is it possible? Chazal tells us it's the same mountain that HaKadosh Baruch Hu suspended on them like a big gigit, like a pile over the head, like a big pot over the head. In other words, he said, "You're going to get the Torah, yes or no? Yes? Good. No, I'm going to drop it on you." He said, okay, we'll do it. Chazal says he breaks it under the mountain. Under that same mountain. And Moshe Rabbeinu says the following: those luchot, those 10 commandments, the tablets, were given to us in a way by force. The Gemara says the whole entire world was waiting to see if Am Yisrael will receive the Torah or not, because the whole existence of the world and the universe until the point was for Am Yisrael to receive the Torah. If not, God forbid, the whole world will be destroyed. Needless to say, you can get an idea of how important it is for us to carry the Torah. So those 10 commandments were given to us b'kfiyah, by force. However, anything that you're forcing people to do cannot sustain itself a long time. Why? Because there's a concept that says en kfiyah beruchniut. When it comes to spirituality, you cannot force anyone or anything on anyone. It cannot be done like this. So anything that comes that you force someone, even if it's the most important thing, would not last. So Moshe Rabbeinu is wise. Rabotai, this is not just about the egel. This is about a lesson in leadership. If you want to understand what leadership is, don't look around at your politicians, because they're not leaders. None of them. If you want to look at leadership, look where it needs to be looked at. First of all, Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe says the following: if you would have given him the Torah by will, you ask him, would you like it? It could have a continuity. But because you forced them, they rebelled against you. They said, we don't want it. And Moshe breaks, by doing so, he kind of breaks the narrative, breaks the whole process that was taking place. And that is something that is a very important part in our spiritual growth of each and every one of us. Now, that, by the way, applies not only to Am Yisrael, it applies also to how we interact with others and trying to explain to them the importance of keeping Torah and mitzvot, our children, our family, anybody around us. You cannot force anybody. You should give them the tools, but you should know that you cannot force anyone. You can't force them. You force, there's going to be a power against us, force against us that will resist it and will snap it out. You can't do that. So, and that stage, the important stage in our growth, Rabotai, is the stage of breaking the initial molds that we all had it. And that, of course, would serve the purpose of doing the job that we need to do. You find it many times by people who are Baalei Tshuva. They were born into a certain reality, and they break everything they had, and now they go on a different path. Moshe Rabbeinu is doing the process of Tshuva of Am Yisrael in that matter, and he was very concerned about this. Moshe Rabbeinu understands and shows us that the whole issue of the Chet HaEgel, of the golden calf, the whole sin of the golden calf, was because Am Yisrael felt that they have to do it. They have to. And that's why I keep telling you guys times and time again, you don't have to do anything. And if you do something because you have to, you're not going to do it for a long time. You need to do things because you want to, not because you have to. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Moshe and he tells him, listen, now you have to really you got to do what it needs to do. You need to attack the external forms that we have there, and we need to go to the sinners who did the averot, and you got to take care of business. You got to do whatever needs to be done. Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, taking care of the outside is nice, but we need to see also the internal processes that brought to this place. Where is the true soul of Am Yisrael? What happens to the core internal part of Am Yisrael? We need to understand that process as well. What is the true will of Am Yisrael? What do we really want? Did you ask yourself, by the way, what do you really want out of life? That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, he shows, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows Moshe Rabbeinu the whole concept of fire. And we are also, after that stage of breaking, we need to separate between the external processes or the external forces that cause us to that breakage to what we really want internally. Because sometimes peer pressure, society will cause you to do things, but that's not what you really want. You need to understand. And that's why it's very important if you have I told you a story that I heard one time from Rabbi Krohn. And I don't know, he was trying to do something and this kid comes to him and really bothers him, makes a lot of noise. And he wanted to yell at him. So he said to him, you! And as he's saying you, he understood a big letter. It says, you tzaddik. Therefore, never tell your kid, call them by names, Needless to say, those names, right? Superlatives that are negative. Always say positive, not negative. Because when you tell your child, you're a Rasha, he'll act like a Rasha. You tell your son or your daughter, you're an idiot. Guess what? They'll act like one. And then if you're going to tell them, why did you do so? I said, you told me, you gave me the title, so I acted according to that. But if you tell the child, you tzaddik, why did you do this? You're tzaddik. He'll be able to separate between his, for example, peer pressure that caused him to do that, to the fact that he himself is a tzaddik and he's not going to do it anymore. Everybody fails. Everybody falls. Everybody stumbles. The point is to separate between that and not to associate yourself with the Averah itself, that you are that bad person. What Moshe Rabbeinu is doing here is doing the same thing. Now, in other words, we didn't really reach the state that we reached out of nowhere. There were some forces that were in play here, and we really got to this place. But in any situation, our true will is really hiding there. There's always a good aspect, even of something that is bad. So sometimes the good thing is really hidden from us, and we really need to reveal it. So therefore, it's quite understood that specifically in the breakage of the first luchot, of the first tablets, only in that crucial moment there is a great chance of revelation of the true will, of the maybe the deepest true will of really who you are and what you're about. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu stands, one of the reasons, and he stands at the edge of the camp and he says, Mila Hashem Elai, who is for God, come to me. In other words, where is your will? Where is your true self here? It's the same thing as the same question as HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked Adam HaRishon. Ayeka. Ayeka, what does it mean Ayeka? We always says, where are you? But there is a parenthesis there. Where are you, in parenthesis, standing? Where are you holding now? Tell me exactly where you are. Ayeka, where are you? When a person does chas v'shalom as an avera, you should also say, where am I really holding? And you should ask yourself at any given moment, where I'm really holding. Where am I? Where's my place right now? So, in other words, when you say to somebody, where are you? Is where your awareness? Why are you mindful on? Right? Is your mind here? Where are you? What's your awareness about? Where are you geared on? So the first luchot were received by oppression almost. Yes, the Am Yisrael says Naaseh v'nishma, but that was begeder what we call hitorerut chitzonit, external arousal, external thing. It was an event. There was, by the way, it's very interesting. Sometimes I remember when I finished boot camp, right? So when we finished boot camp, when I finished the Air Force Academy, we did right away boot camp. It was a part of the thing before. So of course they invited all the parents, and we thought it was a drag. I mean, to really stand there and parade with your gun and this and the whole thing, up, down, But nevertheless, they invited all the parents, because after all we were cadets. So they invited all the parents. I gotta tell you, that was really impressive. There was torches of fire all over the place. It was done at night. There were special lights. It was a production. That was impressive. So at that moment, you really feel like a tremendous, vibe of yes. But it's external. It's external. Am Yisrael, when they received the Torah, there was a big production. It was all external. That's why he needed to put upon themselves what we call har kigigit, to give them the luchot rishonim, the first tablets that were done completely by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in order to show them. The reason was it wasn't a mistake. Is to show them, Rabotai, one thing, that there's only one truth and there's only one will in which you should strive for. And that's what you should strive for. Strive towards Hashem. All the other stuff is just nonsense. But the people couldn't understand that. It needed to come from inside for them. Which is true. But the ultimate goal is to reach a level of what? Partnership. And that's how the world was created to begin with. Partnership with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He created the world and He let us watch it over, to take care of it, to make it into a better place, not to make it into a worse place. When we make it into a better place, we say many times, Na'asa shutaf lakadosh baruch hu b'ma'aseh bereshit. You are a partner in creation, because you are now creating a better world. And that could only be done in the level of creation. However, for this partnership, you really need a true internal awakening. If you're going to ask any partnership that didn't work, you'll see that it was external. It's a big thing. Yes, we're going to make a lot of money. We're going to sell this. We're going to sell bridges in Brooklyn and ice for the Eskimos. And it's all big hoorah. But then all of a sudden, it wasn't really internal. Then the partnership falls, or the business falls, and so on and so forth. True partnership has to come from within, because I want to work with you. It doesn't make a difference what we're doing. I want to work with you. Any partnership that is external is not going to work. It's going to fail. So therefore, you should know, the more the so-called potential partner is trying to sell you an idea with great excitement, you know it's a lot of production, he's not going to be doing the work. It's only through partnership. Well, the same thing, by the way, happens in Israel. In Israel right now, there are big crises about the Yeshiva Bachurim going to the army, not going to the army. I think they should go to the army. They should be partners in taking care of Am Yisrael. And not only, because without the physical existence, there's no spiritual existence. God forbid if October 7th would have happened in central Israel, instead of having 1,400 people dead, we're going to have 140,000 people dead. Chas v'shalom. So you can even if you talk about a partnership of Issachar and Zvulun, it's not that Issachar did not work. They learned, but they worked. It's not that Zvulun didn't learn, only worked. He learned too. You have to have a partnership. Yes, so as much as the Yeshiva Bachurim should go to the army, I think also there's some secular Israelis, it won't be such a bad idea for them to go to Yeshiva. It should be together. I mean, listen, if you talk about it this way, without understanding why are we sitting there in that land, without developing that internal connection to the land, it's no more than just a piece of real estate. So therefore, you're going to hand it over, you're going to throw it away. Just like they did. We need the internal awakening and the external strength. And that's something that we need to get into. And we should stop with this politics, that everybody's going about politics. It's terrible. We only lose for that. Now, the second tablets were already made by Moshe Rabbeinu, the representative of the people, and the writing was writing from above, and then there was partnership. And that's how we connected heaven and earth together. That's how the partnership took place. The word was there, Moshe wrote them, now we are partners. But where are we in this whole entire story? Where is Moshe? Why did Moshe do what he did? Listen, we go through journeys in life. Between building and destroying, between destroying and building. This is a whole journey that we take through life. And we need to understand when we want to attach ourselves to something, when we want something very specific, there are a few different stages that you have to go through the stages. So, for example, if a person wants to get a college degree or something, so he has a tremendous awakening. I want to get a college degree, I'm going to go here, I'm going to get a PhD, I'm going to get an MMD, I don't know, whatever you want to get. After that, there is this internal awakening. There is the stage on which you have to really force things. And while it is, listen, you can't go to your friends. You can't do this. You have to sit down and actually do the work. You wanted to do it, right? So sit down and do the work. He says, I'm too tired now. Oh, it's not for me. I thought it was for me, but you didn't try. You really need to be kofeh. Force yourself to execute the dream in which you had, to be able to maneuver or to move that concept from a dream to reality. To move it from a dream to reality, you need to have discipline. And we don't have discipline. We want everything right away. And it's a huge problem. So, and even that stage you have to break in order for the person to really stop what he started, right? And try to implement what he learned. In order to do that, you need to look at the reasons why. Why are you truly doing what you're doing? Do you really mean it? As I said to you before, why do you want to get married? If you're going to find the real reason why you're going to get married, good or bad, you'll be able to do it, fix it, and then actually have better marriage. But if you get married because everybody else gets married, it's going to be very bad for you. It's going to be pointless for you. Because then you're going to see it as a burden. Not as something that you could... And that's the whole thing about marriages don't work. It's a partnership. We're doing this together. And, it's all aspects of life. So, anything, in order for you to finish what you started, you really to connect internally to the root of the reasons of what you're doing, to find the true reason of what you're doing, and only from there, that's the point in which you derive the power, your strength from the point of truth inside of you. And that is going to be happiness and ability to continue on until you actually reach your goal. Now, if you look at this leadership type of Moshe Rabbeinu, it's really amazing. Am I bothering you?
Sorry.
Oh, okay, you should be. Now, if you look at the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu, in a way, the whole process already happened in the reality of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What is that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu the following: וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, כי תישא את ראש בני ישראל לפקודיהם, ונתנו איש כופר נפשו, and so on and so forth. מה זה כי תישא? מה זה תישא? You're going to lift their heads up. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that they're going to be down. The job of Moshe Rabbeinu is not to ride on their depression, on the feeling that we just messed up big time. Your job as a leader is to lift their heads up. You carry their head up, pick their chin up, so they could finish what the job in which they need to do. That leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu, when he comes down from Har Sinai, is very hard. He comes down with the divine tablets, right? And he understands that the nation, Am Yisrael, picked themselves a different leader at that point. Not only they don't want Moshe Rabbeinu, they don't want God, but the new leader is the golden calf. And Moshe Rabbeinu understands that. And it seems like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is angry, but this is, by the way, only a lesson to teach us. And he's asking Moshe to, you know what, Moshe Rabbeinu, we're going to switch the people. I'm sick and tired of these people. I'm just tired of these people. Let's erase all the Jews and then create a new dynasty now. Right? Aschal legoy gadol, atzum varav, and so on and so forth. I'll make a new Am Yisrael. Moshe doesn't see in that there's opportunity to make an exit, as they say. Oh, wait, you're going to make me into? Right, we just cashed in, right? High-tech society. He doesn't make an exit on that, right? He sees in that a tremendous catastrophe. As a leader, he does something that's amazing. He's standing right side of the people he's leading. He's not trying to save his skin. And he's trying to convince HaKadosh Baruch Hu how important it is to live Am Yisrael the way they are. The Baal HaKedah explains the argument of Moshe Rabbeinu this way. It says, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to him with a hard claim, right, which is really to resist it, look, and what is that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to him, look how much I invested into these people. I took him out of Mitzrayim, in Bet Avadim, the whole entire thing, right? And they betrayed me in the real time, the right moment, the most important time of receiving. They betrayed me then. Imagine a kala, a bride, betrays her husband on the day of the wedding under the chuppah. It's unheard of. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like, but this is amazing what's going on here. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, listen, let's make your argument into a positive argument. You brought a negative argument. Moshe Rabbeinu is turning it into a positive argument. He says, listen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, isn't it a waste, a shame for all this investment that you put in? I mean, you invested so much. Yes, I understand. You took him out of Mitzrayim, Bet Avadim, you made miracles to them, you spoke for them like no. But after all this effort, isn't it a waste to just throw it down the garbage? It's a waste, right? So give him another chance, and you'll see that everything is going to work out. Now, if you're going to take this example and you put it on to, let's say, a CEO of a company and so on and so forth, he wants, so we would say, if the guy didn't, just get rid of him, throw him, not tzarich, right? But after you started the whole process, right, and he's learning and you invested so much into him, let's try again. Let's not give up on him. Let's try again. And I'm sure that if we try it again, give him another chance, he's going to really prove himself to be the right thing. A real leader takes care of his people first. He doesn't take care of himself. He takes care of his people. He's willing to fight for them, He's willing to, as they say, lay on the fence for them. And you see it so much in Israel, in the IDF. The slogan of any officer, of any leader is, after me. Now guys, you go, I'll be right back. After me. That's why in this campaign in Gaza, so many officers died, because they did not let the troops go there. They went first. That's something that is embedded in all of us. And you, and all of us. That leadership quality. And he needs to be also, and you see Moshe Rabbeinu is negotiating a very creative kind of a negotiation over there, for those people, which he thinks are going to be a great benefit for society. And that's for that matter, it's basically Am Yisrael. He doesn't let them fall alone and try to save himself. Right? So Moshe really becomes very creative, and he shows us something here which is amazing. He showed us that creativity is not just a nice thing or sweet thing, but it's also a necessity. Creativity is a necessity. You have to be creative. Obstacles are going to come your way. To solve these obstacles, you need to be creative. Moshe also understands to really to communicate, not only to communicate, to make partnership, to cooperate. And he's giving and willing and dealing in order to gain control over this chaotic event of the Egel and coming down. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is doing. He's negotiating with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a very creative way. Now, maybe you could appreciate Moshe Rabbeinu better like this. He also teaches us a tremendous lesson. It's like, not only go to Hashem, guys, you got to make tshuva. Guys, you did wrong. Go make tshuva. Go say you're sorry. That's what we teach our kids. Go say you're sorry. When you tell somebody, go say you're sorry, or as a kid, he's going to feel very intimidated, scared, and petrified by the event of saying I'm sorry, and you're not going to be able to teach him something. Because he's going to feel all alone. And who wants to feel all alone when everybody's looking at you? Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, Mile Hashem, who is going to say sorry to Hashem? Who wants to live a life like this? Come to me, I'll take you there. Mile Hashem Elai. Don't go to Hashem and make teshuvah. Come to me, I'll take you. I'm not going to leave you alone. Guys, I'm not going to leave you alone. Don't be afraid. Because when you're going to be afraid, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to be afraid, there's going to be a vacuum of lack of emunah. And when there is a vacuum that you leave behind, somebody else will fill it up, and then you don't have any control anymore in your life. You lost it. Before even it started. And so therefore, in order to be a good leader, it's not just leading, it's also teaching. You need to be able to teach your people. And to teach them how to make decisions. How to be creative, not to fall apart, not to force anyone. And we see it when Am Yisrael goes to war. Mi Aish, who is the man who is fearful? Go home, we don't need you here. You're preoccupied with somebody else, go home, we don't need you, it's okay. You need to be mindful of whatever is ahead of you. If your mind is going to be somewhere else, your test you're going to fail. That is a tremendous lesson in leadership, Rabotai. And this is not just when you're going to have 150,000 people following you. You need to also learn how to lead yourself first of all. And that's something that you should not forget. And this is all being done in order for all this crisis and all this breakage in our life are going to be the building blocks of the rest of our lives. We need to understand that in the most difficult situation, in the most difficult breakage, there is a true revelation of what I truthfully want, of really who I am. That's why, guys, you should not give up. Don't give up. Don't be depressed. En Yehush ba'olam. Right? And you have to remember one thing, Rabotai. That whatever doesn't kill you makes you tougher. So if things gets a little tougher, that's good for you. You know how to deal with it. don't give up and don't lay down and don't be despair and don't give up hope. And this is our job. But now in this happy occasion, first of all, I want to wish you Shabbat Shalom. That's A. B, I would like to hand over the floor to our two prominent Talmidim, Eitan and Idan. They're going to do a Siyum on Bava Kama. And so they work on it very, very hard. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. The tremendous dedication that the guys in Yeshiva have is really amazing. They're coming to learn day and night without any excuses why they can't. They only try to find excuses why they can. This is how you actually achieve something. And for that, I salute you. What your achievement is really amazing. It's a tremendous achievement. And I just hope that you'll go michayil lechayil and tamshichu la'alot ma'ala ma'ala b'ma'alot HaTorah ve'ayirah. B'zchut your dedication to the Torah and to Am Yisrael will see salvation and will reach Tikkun Olam. And there's going to be peace in the world. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu's glory is going to be shown on all of us. Amen. Amen. Siyum, guys. No? Eitan Perry, you ready? Yeah. All right, until he gets it. All right, go ahead.
If it's lining.
Align the thing for him, please. You know, both of them. Okay. Come here. All right, let's go. I see that.
All right, so as the Rav mentioned, first Rav, thank you also everyone so much for being here and celebrating this very big milestone with Idan and I. So Masechet Bava Kama, it's a very interesting Masechet. It's the first in Seder Nezikin, which is all about damages. We deal a lot with civil matters, like damages, tort, liability for causing damage to someone else, to people and their property. So basically it's like whenever you're causing any damage. So it says in Masechet Bava Kama on Daf Lamed, it says whoever wishes to become a chassid should study Nezikin. And this is a very big thing, because it gets very complicated and just so complex when it comes to anything dealing with monetary matters. Further, it says in Masechet Bava Basra on Daf 175, it says one who wishes to become wise should study basically monetary halachot, with Nezikin. And then it says in Ein Eliyahu on Shabbat 31a, it says if one studies laws of damages, he'll merit never to damage, which will be his Yeshua, saving him from danger. So just by studying these things, it also comes to open up your mind, open up your brain to what this is really all about. So there's something that says on Daf Nun Tet. This really struck me. I don't know. It was like it was about 2 months ago, and it was the morning, and I think I was learning before shul or something. It was early in the morning. It was sometimes it's hard to learn Gemara in the morning. Your brain can't really comprehend.
Usually is.
Yeah. And I remember I was reading this one line. It says, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Achla Perot Gmurim. It says, Rabbi Shimon says, if his animal ate ripe produce, and then it basically goes on further to say, he pays the value of the produce itself, but not the depreciation of the field. Because there's this whole thing what if your animal goes and it goes and eats someone else's crops? What do you have to pay? Who do you have to pay? It's very, very depthful. So there's a question basically that at least I had. But then it goes on later. It says, "My time." What's the reason? It says, It says, in regard to that which Hashem said in the Torah, and it consumes in the field of another. Which teaches that we evaluate damaged produce in the context of the field. Those words apply though only to something that still needs the field itself. So I was thinking about that. Wow, that's actually a very deep line if you think about it. So basically, we're saying if something relies. So say you have a fruit tree, and now this apple, it's not fully ripe. So it still needs the tree in order to grow. It's not a fully grown apple yet. So we're saying now if an animal comes eats this apple off the tree, but it's not ripe yet, the owner of the animal has to pay for depreciation of the field, not for the apple. So I was like, what does that mean? That's like a very big mashal, you know. It's like, but now and the opposites. But now, if the apple was ripe, and like it was able to sustain itself already, then it seems like the person who damaged the guy whose animal like ate it would only have to, basically, you'd have to pay for the apple, not the field. So it hit me, I'm like, this is very much like any of us. You know, it's like, what's the tree could like really be a mashal for, you know, your community, you know, your yeshiva. And as long as you still need that source of sustenance, you know, say like that you still need to go on there. I know we were discussing this yesterday also. It hit me when I was driving here. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Like, that's literally, I just got this. Like, just clicked. You know, as long as you still need that place or that entity or that makom or whatever it is, then if someone, say, quote unquote, damages you, or say we leave, we're actually impacting the entirety. We're impacting the entire field. We're damaging everything, not just ourselves.
Right, Zalman?
So that was a very big thing. I don't know, it really stood out to me. You know, and this
Very
goes
good. Wow, amazing.
and this goes for basically anything. Whenever you have an opportunity to maybe mechazik another Jew or do a mitzvah, whatever it is, it's not just about you. It's about everything around you as well.
Wow.
So it says, okay. So I just took a few notes from Rav Yaakov Feitman. He says, so basically, the Chatam Sofer writes that in Drashot on Parashat Zachar on 650, on page 654, it says, so we were just talking about how by learning the Zikin is a very deep thing. It's something that like can save you from damages in the future. The fact that you even delve into it. So Chatam Sofer writes, he deepens this premise by saying, one who learns these matters in depth, even if God forbid he's destined to be hurt or damaged, will be spared by engaging in learning Seder Nazikin. When he calls this the Seder of Yeshuot. And then later in Zichron Yosef, Mareches Mem, page 79b, it writes that it's a segula for a husband, actually, or the husband of a woman, if she's in the middle of if she's in the middle of a difficult childbirth and she's having a hard time with labor, then it says that basically he writes that you learn the first Mishnah of Bava Kama over and over and over and over because this all has to do with Nezikin and damages. And this is a big segula that the baby will be born safely. So then it says there's a tradition when making a Siyum to connect the end of the Masechet to the beginning. So there are 4 categories of Nezikin in the first Mishnah. And it also refers to, and these same things basically parallel characteristics for us. So the first one is say shor, which is an ox that does damage. This refers to our sight, reminding us to guard our eyes. Then when it comes to shen, which is tooth, it's about basically thinking about excessive eating, basically. Excessive eating and other failings to excessive materialism in Gashmios. Now there's another one, bor, which is the pit, if something falls into a pit. This refers to the same pit with emptiness in yourself. And it's like wasting time and basically being bitul Torah and everything that just has nothing productive coming out of it. This is the same mirror characteristic. So Rabbi Tzion Abba Shalom writes that bor actually. So we're just saying bor. Bor was the whole thing with emptiness. Says Rabbi Tzion Abba Shalom, bor actually alludes to Torah, to bitul Torah, and oh wait, did I just say that? There, Bor alludes to unnecessary and excessive depression, actually. He says that this pit inside of you is actually excessive depression. And, of unimportant things. And basically and the last one is fire. And it has to do with anger and lacking self-control. So now the last chapter discusses the laws of theft. So now that was the first thing in the entire Masechet. Now we have the last thing in the Masechet. We're discussing laws of theft. It says whether someone can take something. Basically, this whole idea is whether or not you can take something, and someone wouldn't care about taking. There's a lot of discussion about if you give something to a weaver and he cuts off a little thread in order to make it better, can he keep those threads? Can he not? And just a lot of things similar to that. So if someone does care, it's called makbid. Basically, he's being makbid on it. And the Gemara says the example gives is hops and green grains aren't subject to theft, but in a place where owners are makbid, they can't be taken without permission. And now Ravina comes and says, in Mechasya, owners are makpid on these types of grains. Rashi then comes and says, in Machasya, people required pastures that are good. That's what Rashi says. So what does this mean? And Maharsha comes and says that, like, why did Rashi add this word good? Like normally that's not there. Maharsha says because Rashi added the word tov, so Bava Kama will end on a good note. Because which many Masechtot basically do, but the Gemara itself actually doesn't. Because 3 volumes, Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, and Bava Basra, all are actually one massive Masechet. So Rashi says, no, this one wouldn't come and end on a good note, so I'm going to make sure it ends on a good note, and I'm going to add the word tov. So now the Ben Ish Chai, further he comes and says that there are 3 types of speech, now at the end of Masechet. So it says, for mankind, so it says the worst one is obviously Lashon Hara. When it comes, the best one is tefillah and words of Torah, which are mitzvot. And now the third is mundane tasks, which are like in the middle, or mundane talk, basically. So like what it has to do with work, your livelihood, whatever's going on in your life, that's like mundane. Now, when it comes to the worst one, why is it so bad? Because it's stealing from Hashem's treasury. Hashem gives everyone a certain amount of words, basically, in your life. Hashem gives you the ability to talk. So by you taking that and turning things bad, or speaking very negatively, you're taking from Hashem's treasury. You're burning the fuel that Hashem gave you to go on with your life. Now the best one, like we said, was tefillah. It's tefillah and words of Torah because you're adding to the world. You're making the world a better place. You're adding a lot of kedusha, a lot of sparks. The third, mundane things, we're not adding or subtracting, but it's not things that you should really be speaking, say, in a Beit Midrash or any place of kedusha, basically. So now the Gemara concludes how in Machasya, which was the highest ideals of Torah, basically it was a very high place. Everyone was makpid to speak only for the best, holiest of reasons. In the same way that they were makpid on not basically on like the leftovers of their things to like keep it. If someone wanted, they had to ask them. Same way they were makpid on their speech. Now the Ben Ish Chai goes on just on this. There's a life lesson. It says that every moment that we make a decision to speak or not, maybe adding to Hashem, to Hashem's world of stealing from kedusha and tahara in our midst. Our job is to maximize our speech. That's what our job is. Ben Ish Chai also says that Hashem gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen more than you speak. So now, just very last thing. There's just one. I was going to Brooklyn today. I was in Brooklyn, and I walked into the room, and someone just he started telling me a story. Like that was the first thing he just started to say. He's like, "Eitan, come here. I want to tell you a story." Okay, like it's just like about me, like making a muscle that like I did something wrong. People don't usually start a dialogue like that. So he was telling me, like one time, and this is a true story. He was telling me, I don't know if it was him or his friend, but he said one time he lent someone $10,000, and the guy said, "Yeah, I'm going to pay it back really soon," and he kept pushing it off for years. And then eventually, years later, he gets a call, and the guy's like, Moshe, we'll make up his name. He said, I have $5,000 for you, but you got to come right now. If you're not here by 3:30. I have to leave, and like I don't know when I'm going to be able to give it to you. So he says, okay, fine. So he gets in his car, he's like driving like crazy there, and all of a sudden a state trooper pulls him over. And now he's like, wow, like I'm going to miss it. And he like starts telling the state trooper this entire story of like what's going on, like that's why he's rushing. And he tells the state trooper, like I promise, like this is what the story is. How about this? You follow me to this person's house. If you see I was lying, arrest me right now. And if not, then you see I was telling the truth. So surprisingly, the state trooper was okay with that, and he follows him to the house. And what happens? So the guy, he opens the door, and he's like, "Hey, Moshe, here's 5,000. Oh, and also, like I just remembered, like actually got another 5,000 in to like cover the whole 10." And this is basically very similar to your life. Like a lot of times, like things seem like hectic throughout your days. You don't know what's going on, or just things that we don't understand. But see, all the way, just put in the hands of Hashem, things work out. So. That's right.
Okay, the Ben Ish Chai, let's go. כל הכבוד.
ברשות הרבנים.
ברשות המסיימים.
תודה. So, Chazak Baruch Eitan also. And so, this Bava Kama speaks a lot about it gets, like Ethan said, it takes a lot from Parashat Mishpatim. Parashat Mishpatim, it talks about the laws of civil law, torts, like Ethan said. So one of the parashot that speaks about civil law and damages is Parashat Mishpatim. One question that could be asked, and I'm relating this because the Gemara takes a lot from that parsha. So one question that could be asked is, why did the Torah see fit to discuss these laws of Mishpatim, of Bava Kama, immediately after Parashat Yitro? So, which discusses the Ten Commandments, and lastly it discusses the Mizbeach. So why? What is the connection between these two topics? So I remember seeing this in the Stone Edition Chumash, the Art School Chumash, and they provide an inspiring answer. They note that when most people think of religion, they think of ritual and spirituality. Perhaps one would think of animal offerings or the uplifting holidays. However, the Torah wishes to reveal that although those are important aspects of our service to God, there is more. They note that Western man differentiates between church and state. They say there's church and there's state. So, but meaning there's religion on the one hand, and there's civil law on the one hand. There's lawyers and there's religion. But the Torah reveals to us by placing Mishpatim next to Yitro that what we call spirituality and civil law are one and the same. Hashem wants both and does not favor one over the other. On the contrary, the Gemara, like Eitan said in Daf Lamed Av, states, Rav Yehuda said, one who wishes to be devout, a chassid, should fulfill the words of Masechet Nezikin. Like Eitan said, Bava Kama, Bava Etzion, Bava Bata are all considered one large Masechet called Nezikin. They were split up. So the signal tractate covers laws such as damages, theft, lost property, price fraud, interest, and more. According to the Nimukei Yosef, Rav Yehuda means that in order to be a chassid, one is pay special attention to the laws that pertain to man and his fellow, ben adam chavero. According to the Messiah Shirim, chassidut entails acting with extreme kindness toward others and exhibiting concern for all their needs, whether physical, financial, or emotional. Thus, by fulfilling laws such as those enumerated in Bava Kama, one reaches a very high level and is acting in accordance with what Hashem desires of man. Some people have a misconception that keeping Shabbat and Kashrut is what constitutes one as being a good Jew. Although those commandments are of the utmost importance, if they fail to obey the laws of damages, stealing, and so on, they are in a serious violation, no less than someone who desecrates the Shabbat or Chas v'Shalom eats non-kosher. That is why Hashem put the Parashat of Yitro and Mishpatim together, to teach us that holiness and spirituality are very important, but do not forget to be a devout Jew in all areas of law, especially those between man and his friend. The Midrash says the book brings out another point about the relationship between the Ten Commandments and the Mishpatim. He brings a parable. There was once a queen who never left her palace to go out for a walk unless she had previously ordered a heavily armed bodyguard to march in front of her. Another armed troop would follow her in the rear. Only then did she relax, secure in the knowledge that no intruder would be able to approach her from any direction. Similarly, the Ten Commandments were preceded and followed by Mishpatim, by the laws of the civil law, since the Mishpatim are crucial to the survival of human civilization. And to finish off, another question that connects with the previous one is, why did Hashem give us so many laws in Al-Chod regarding this topic, whereas the nations do not seem to have so many in-depth commandments from Hashem concerning these laws? The answer lies in another parable cited by the Midrash, said from the Midrash Tanchuma. The parable: the doctor was making his daily round throughout the hospital, accompanied by his assistant. Going from one patient and examining, he instructed the staff, "This patient's diet is not to be restricted. Let him have whatever he wants." He continued his route, and after having checked another patient, marked down on his record a long list of food. "All these may under no circumstances be given to this man," he ordered. He is allowed only a limited number of foods. His assistant seemed confused. The patient whose diet you restricted seems to be less ill than the one who you did not restrict at all. The one who you did not restrict is ill, he commented. "Precisely," explained the physician. "The first man, unfortunately, was a hopeless case. He will not recuperate even with a special diet. Why should I give him one? Why then should I give him one? But this last one has a hope of survival. I will therefore do everything in my power to heal him." Thus, Klal Yisrael, who are capable of attaining the highest spiritual levels, are given many detailed halachot to regulate each steps of their lives. Hashem, however, will not give these to the nations. And lastly, it says in Yeshayahu, "Tzion b'mishpat tipadeh v'shaveh b'tzedakah." Israel, or Etzion, will be redeemed through justice, which is civil laws and stuff like that, stealing and all that, and those who return to her through righteousness. Perhaps we can read this verse, v'shaviyah, as like shvuim, her hostages. And so we say they will be redeemed through tzedakah and justice. May all of Am Yisrael do what is right between man and his fellow, and man and God, and may we redeem once and for all. Amen.
Amen.
You want to say?
Says the last part of the Gemara says, now if someone was working on the owner's premise, even the sawdust belongs to the owner. You know, if he's chopping the wood or saying no, like the sawdust isn't for the guy chopping the chopping, it's the owner, it's his sawdust. The Tzara Rabbanan, the Rebbe said in Braita, Misate avanim in bahem mishum gazel. Those who chisel stones are not subject to the prohibition against theft. Mefaske ilano, those who prune trees, mefaske gefanot, those who prune grapevines, menakfe hegev, who prune thorn bushes, menakshe zraim, who weed unwanted vegetation from amongst grains, vodri akod, who prune vegetables, bezman shabalabat makbelhem. When the owner is particular about them, yesh ben mishum gazel, they are subject to prohibition against theft. In balabat makbelhem, when the owner is not particular, hare elu shelo, they belong to the worker.
And the Gemara finishes off with the Amoraic ruling. Amar of Yehuda, keshut vechaziz en ben mishum gazel. Hops and green grain are not subject to a prohibition against theft, because in those places they let the animals feed on them, so they weren't really particular with them. However, in a place where the owners are particular that others not take their hops or green grain because they want their own animals, they are subject to a prohibition against theft. And the Gemara comments, Ama Avina, and the city of Mata Mechasia is a place where the owners are particular because their animals feed on them. Hadan alach hagozer bata, gozer alach bakir b'makama. Hadan alach masel b'makama v'adach halan. Dadan alach masel b'makama v'adach halan. Lo t'nashem minach masel b'makama v'lo t'nashem minan. La b'ama adin v'la b'ama dateh. Yehi ratzon mefnech Adonai Eloheinu v'lo avitinu shiteh toratecha v'natinu b'alam hazeh. V'teh imanu l'olam haba. Chani b'ababa, Ram b'ababa, Chanach b'ababa, Achai b'ababa, Abba b'ababa, Rafon b'ababa, Achish b'ababa, Sofa b'ababa, Ada b'ababa, Adar b'ababa. Harev na Adonai Eloheinu et debei toratecha b'finu v'yod amech b'tisai. V'nei v'shkuna amech b'tzizenu v'tzizei tzenu v'tzizei amech b'tisai k'unam yidei shemecha v'navdei toratecha l'shma. V'navdei תחכמנו מצוותיך כי לעולם היא ליבי תמים בחוקיך למען לא אבוש. לעולם לא אשכח בגדודיך כי בם חייתני. ברוך אתה אדוני למדי חוקיך אמן 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 אצל ועד. מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואבותינו ששם לחכינו ביושבי בית המדרש ולא שם לחכינו ביושבי קרנות שאינם משקיעים ומשכימים. אנו משכימים בבית תורה והם משכימים בבית בטלים. אנו עמלים והם ממנים. אנו עמלים מקבלים שכר והם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר. אנו רצים והם רצים. אנו רצים אחרי הבא והם רצים וישר. שנאמר אתה עובדים ותורדים וישר עד שאין ימים ומה לא ירצויים ואני אפתח בך.